All right, guys. It's a beautiful night right here, and we have quite a couple of questions to solve. I would not want us to waste any more time. We have a lot of questions to solve, so it would vary from several topics. So I hope you can follow through on all the questions we'll be solving. All right, let me take this very first one. I believe we can all relate to it. We're given all this. So I'm going to label them as A, B, C, and D. I'm going to label this as A, B, C, and D. All right, this will be our very first question for the night. And the question is, which of the following is correct? Which of the following is correct? So I want to get your answers. Is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? Oh, wow. This is nice. I can see a lot of options coming for option D. All right, let's examine this before we make our conclusions. We know that 360 degree is equals to 2 pi radian. That means for a circle, we say a circle is made up of 360 degree. If we're going to discuss that in terms of radian, we would say a circle is made up of 2 pi radian. All right. So in all this is 2 pi radian being 270. I'm very sure this is going to be very, very wrong because 2 pi radian is actually 360 degree. Option B, I'm told that 360 degree was 3 pi radian. Of course, that's very wrong also. Now, if you look here for what we wrote here, we can easily divide both sides by 2, and we have 180 degree being equals to pi radian. So obviously, option C, where I saw pi radian being 90 degree, will be very wrong also. So let's see the basis of which our option D is going to be correct. Of course, if pi radian is 180, you multiply both sides by 4 pi. Of course, 180 times 4 also. 180 times 4 will give you a value of what? 720. So it's okay to conclude that 720 degree is 4 pi radian. This is very key for you to be excellent in every of your question. All right. So we're done with that. Let's go to a different question. You were given a function. I'll write the function right here. And you were told the function was x plus 1 over x minus 2. The question said, let this particular function be a function defined on a set of real numbers excluding 2. So x will never be equals to 2. For this function, x will never be equal to 1. I think the reason why that must be because if x was equals to 2, we'll be having 2 minus 2, that will be 0. and anything over 0 will be undefined. So necessarily for this to be stated so that we can clearly say that our function will never have a place where it is undefined. All right, the question then went on to say, determine the inverse of the function. Determine the inverse of the function. You are to determine the inverse of the function. Hello, can everybody hear me? I see somebody talking about not being able to hear me. Please, can you indicate if you can hear me? Okay, so what's the person talking about? All right, it seems like others are hearing very clearly, so we can move on. All right, thank you very much for that response. All right, so we're told to find the inverse of this function. We are told to find the inverse of the function. So what do we do? Of course, I told you there are 4 various steps, 4 very important steps you must move through. The very first step is write the function as a linear equation. So I will have y equals, instead of f of x, I will have y equals to x plus 1 over x minus 2. Then step number 2, wherever you see y, make it x. Wherever you see x, make it y. So y, I turn y to x. I'll turn x to y. All right. And step 3 said, make y the subject of formula. So what I do here is to cross multiply. I have x into bracket y minus 2 equals to y plus 1. This will be xy minus 2x equals to y plus 1. So I go on to categorize where I have my y into one side. This will be xy minus y equals to 2x plus 1. I have y into bracket x minus 1 equals to 2x plus 1. I have y equals to 2x plus 1 over x minus 1. So I've been able to make y the subject of formula. And the last but not the least is for me to go on to change my y now to be the f inverse of x. So my f inverse of x here is 2x plus 1 over x minus 1. How many of you got that right? That is the answer. So these are all past questions. All these questions are straight from the past questions. I told you already we would endeavor to break out every question so that you become very familiar, and that's the pathway to real success. All right. Let's see a question on binary operation here. We're told that a binary operation star is defined on the set of real numbers such that x is not equal to 0 and y is not equal to 0. All right, let me go on to tell you what the binary operation was defined on. Here it is. X, y is equals to 3x cubed plus 4y over 5xy. This is what the binary operation was defined on. We are told to evaluate one binary operation 3. I believe this should be like a 2 seconds question. You should get the answer in like 2 seconds. Of course, the meaning of this is wherever you saw x, put in 1, wherever you saw y, put in 3. So what we have here is 3 into bracket 1 cube plus 4 into bracket 3 over 5 times 1 times 3. So what do we have next? 1 raised to power 3 is going to be 3. So we have 3 plus 12 over 15. This is 15 over 15. The answer is 1. Can you see how easy it is to really excel in A-level mathematics? These are the questions that once you have an understanding of what's going on, You can never go wrong. All right, let's see this question on sequences and series very quickly. Okay, before we go into the question, by the way, this is this past question we are solving, the question we want to solve right now, it's a theory question in the year 2020. So these are raw questions from A-level JUPEB exams. All right, so this is the very first question in that past question. We're told to find the determinant of what we have here. This is a matrix question. And some of you may have come across it, but I'm not sure I've given this to anybody before. So let's try it out, in case I'm sure I've not solved this for any one of you before. So we are told to find the determinant of this particular matrix. We have 2x here, we have y here, we have 1 here, we have 2 here. We are told to find the determinant of this matrix. We're then given this equation, 2x plus y is equals to 5, and x minus 2y is equals to minus 5. So look at the question. They said find, and this question carried a total of less than 5 marks, because it has about 5 marks. The whole question was 5 marks, and there is still a second question to it. So you are told to find the determinant of this matrix, given that 2x plus y equals to 5 and x minus 2y equals to minus 5. How do you solve this? You're told to find the determinant of this matrix. Let's call it matrix A. Look at the matrix. You have 2x, you have y, you have 1, you have 2. Of course, I'm sure everybody here can solve the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix if you had figures that you could relate with. But saying you don't have figures you can relate with, what do you do in this particular kind of question? Well, all you have to do is to go home to find a way to get x value and y value. So what you are given here, this particular set of linear equations you are given, which we call simultaneous equation, all you have to do is to solve for x and y here simultaneously. So if you solve this, what do you get exactly? We can solve this very quickly. If I decide to use elimination method, or probably I use substitution method, of course I know that my x will be equals to, my y will be equals to 5 minus 2x. So I can fix this into the second equation. That will be x minus 2 into bracket 5 minus 2x equals to minus 5. X minus 10 plus 4x equals to minus 5. This will be 5x equals to minus 5 plus 10. 5x equals to 5. X equals to 1. Of course, if x is equals to 1, I can go on to get my y value with 5 minus 2 into bracket 1. That will be 5 minus 2. That will be 3. So I've been able to get my x value as 1 and my y value as 3. So I can get my new matrix now to be 2, my x is 1, my y is 3. So I have a complete matrix now. So I can have 2, 1, 3, 2. So obviously, to find the determinant here, all you have to do is 2 times 2. Determinant of A here will be 2 times 2, that's 4, minus 3 times 1, 3. Determinant here is 1. Easy peasy. This is a theory question. So simple, so straightforward. Now, the next question that was related to this question, it said, given that A and B are acute angles and sine A, this is a trigonometric question, sine A equals to 2 over 5 and cos B is equals to 7 over 25. Find without using calculator. Don't forget, this is a theory question. So when they say find without using calculator, nobody expects you to punch this in a calculator. So they say find without using calculator the value of cos A plus B. find without using calculator the value of cos A plus B. This is what you're supposed to find, and then you complete your 5 marks in this particular question. So how do we solve for this? How do we solve for this? Cos A plus B. What is your approach to it? Of course, if you have been following the classes and if you have seen this in a particular video, this is an aspect of trigonometry we call compound angles. So under compound angles, we have angles like this where we have angle A plus angle B, or sometimes angle A minus angle B. And the way to solve that is by using the identity, the compound angle identity, which you're supposed to know offhand. Offhand. I think the correct word is offhand, not offhead. All right. So you're supposed to know this offhand, and that is why I always encourage you to learn your identity. This is a question that carried a total of 5 marks. So if you go through your identity, can anybody state the identity for this particular compound angle, cos A plus B? Of course, it is cos A plus B is equals to cos A cos B minus sine A sine B. Now, there's a little work you have to do, seeing that you know cos A, you don't know cos A rather. This is a mystery to you. Cos A is unknown. Cos B is actually known. Sine A is actually known. Sine B is unknown. So you have to go on to first evaluate these values before you use them in this compound angle. So how do you use these things? Of course, if you know that sine A equals to 2 over 5, if sine A is equals to 2 over 5, and I know that my sine from SOHCAHTOA, I know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So obviously, I knew that the opposite here was 2, and the hypotenuse was 5. So if the opposite is 2 and the hypotenuse is 5, if I'm trying to find the adjacent, from my Pythagoras theorem, I know that hypotenuse square is opposite square plus adjacent square. So that means 5 square, which was my hypotenuse, is equals to opposite square, which was 2, plus the adjacent we do not know. This means 25 minus 4 equals to x squared. What is 25 minus 4? That's 21. Okay, one thing I'm noticing here is I don't think I really need to go on to find the adjacent. But just for the sake of, in case you needed it, I will still go on to solve it. My x here will be square root of 21. Now, okay, I think it's still okay to use this. I hope I have not made any mistake anyway, because I'm seeing that I was told not to use calculator. So that means let's decide not to use a calculator in this particular question, because they said without using calculator. Let's see how this goes. So that means my sine, my cos A now, which is supposed, don't forget, this A is an angle on its own. So anything, this was the opposite for when we were dealing with angle A. This was the hypotenuse. Now I've gotten the opposite, the adjacent to be this. So my cos A from here is actually adjacent over hypotenuse. So this will be adjacent over hypotenuse. My adjacent is square root of 21. My hypotenuse was 5. So this is my cos A. I hope I'm correct. All right. So I've gotten my cos A. So my cos A is no longer a mystery. This has been gotten. But I need to go on to get my sine B. Now in this case now, don't forget, we are using a different angle B. So you have to decide for its own. So for cos B being 7 over 25, how do we solve this? My cos said adjacent over hypotenuse. Clearly this is the adjacent then, and this is the hypotenuse. So using my Pythagoras theorem, I know that my opposite now will be, of course, 25 square is equals to opposite square, which I do not know, plus adjacent square, which I know. So I know that my x square here is 25 square minus 7 square. So my x square is equals to 25 square is 625 and minus 49. Obviously, this will give me 576. And the square root of that answer gives me 24. So I know now that I can go on to write my sine, which was the issue, sine B now. My sine B will be opposite over hypotenuse. My opposite now is 24. That will be 24 over 25. All right. So we have been able to find all of our angles now. Let's try and then resolve all this. We have found cos A, cos B, sine A, sine B. So we need to go on to resolve all of this now. Don't forget, probably we'll put all of them in one place. So our sine A is 2 over 5. Our sine B. So all we need to do here is, let's just use this next line. So our cos A, we have square root of 21 over 5 multiplied by our cos B, 7 over 25 minus, what was our sine A? 2 over 5 times what was our sine B? 24 over 25. I really believe that the use of the word without using calculator was majorly meant for trying to not have somebody find a value for A. That was what they were trying to avoid. You finding the value of A and finding the value of B and doing cos whatever the two values were and then pressing on a calculator. So you can go on now. Can you go on now to solve this and tell me your final answer? Can you go on to solve this particular expression and tell me what was the final answer? This is a total of 5 marks. So there's no way we are going to finish all the questions we're supposed to solve today. So we will have to pick back on all these other questions later because there are so many questions to solve. So I'm waiting for the final answer from somebody, then we'll go on to a binomial expansion question. Or probably we first pick a question on sequences and series so that we can be done with that. What's the final answer? Minus 0.12, right? And somebody else confirmed that. All right. So this is how you solve that question without using calculator. Let's go to the next question. You just have to press on the calculator and you get a final answer. So without wasting time, let's quickly move to the next question. You're told to find the sum to infinity of this particular series you have here. Find the sum to infinity. I do not think it's possible for you not to use calculator at all in our previous work. I think you will have to use calculator in the end, but probably not for. Okay, I think people are confirming the answer is minus 0.127. I already explained that this was what they were trying to tell students to desist from. All right, it looks like we're having the same answer there. Now, can you make an attempt on this particular question? You're told to find the sum to infinity. I want us to pick as many questions as possible in today's class. All right. The sum to infinity is given as S infinity equals to A over 1 minus R. This is a formula you must never forget. And you'll be needing it in this particular equation. Sorry, this particular expression. So how do you find the sum to infinity? The sum to infinity, quite simple. Of course, the A here defines the first term. The first term. The R here is the common ratio. So we have, from this particular series, we have our A as 3. How do we find a common ratio? Let's do that very quickly. If our first term is 3, our second term, which is U2, is, don't forget, this is a geometric progression, as you can see. This is not an AP. For somebody wondering, how do you know this is not an AP? Go on to check this out. You can see that you're not having an addition going on. It's not 3. This is more like a multiplication. So that's the very very strong way of knowing that this is not an AP. So I'm going to be using the general formula, and I know that my U2 is going to be AR, and this was also 2. So just from here, I can get my common ratio, because if I go on to say AR, which was U2 divided by A, that would be 2 over 3. So that's how you find the common ratio. Of course, A here, we cancel A. My R is 2 over 3. I can go on to confirm this. Let's try for U3, which is equals to AR raised to power 2. U3 gave me 4 over 3. So if I decide to do AR2, that's U3, divided by U2. So you can see there, because I'm trying to find my R, and I know that if I divide U3 divided by U2, of course, I know that A will cancel A, R will cancel one of the R here, I'm left with just one R. So it makes sense for me to do this. So I'll be having, of course, this will be 4 over 3 divided by what? 2. That will be 4 over 3 times 1 over 2. That gives me 2 over 3. So of course, I've been able to find my common ratio now, because this, when you divided this was R. So my R here is 2 over 3. So now that I've gotten my A to be, I knew my A was 3. and my R now is 2 over 3. Go on to insert that into this place. This will give you your value for your sum to infinity. If I go on to insert that, I have my sum to infinity given as my A is 3. That will be 3 divided by 1 minus 2 over 3. Of course, that's 3 divided by 1 over 3. Because 1 minus 1 over 3 gives you 1 over 3. I can change this to 3 divided by 1 over 3. I just changed the word. This will be 3 times 3 over 1. This is 9. That's how very simple. Now, one of the things, many of these things we are doing, will do for each and every one of participants of this tutorial is you will get very request that time solving them. That's the purpose of these classes, so that you can get very strong in mathematics. All right. Let's see some other questions. Let's go to function and mapping quickly. Let's solve 2 questions, all past questions on function and mapping. Look at this question. This is 2021 question. We're told that f(x) was x squared plus c. And we're also told that gx was ax plus b. All right? You are told to find GOFX. Let me write it the same way they wrote it. This is how they wrote it. How do you solve this? So this is a very interesting question. These are questions that would help you get your A, because they are quite very simple, and I believe everybody should be able to solve it. But quickly, before we continue, if you have not given a thumbs up to this live stream, please do that quickly. All right, how do we solve this? This is an example on what we call composite function in mapping. Composite function. Some other people call it function of a function. Function of a function. In this case, when you see a question like this, GOFX, this is the same thing as writing G. This is the same thing. So what we have to do here, wherever we saw, of course, this was our f of x. Initial, this was our g of x, which was the main, this was the parent in this particular question. This is the parent. Our g of x was ax plus b. Now our f of x was x squared plus C. When we're trying to find GOFX, essentially what we are trying to find is anywhere we saw X, we are now filling it for f of X. So we saw X right here. We can see X right here. We're going to be changing wherever we saw X to all the expression for f of X. So we're going to be having a into bracket x squared plus c, then plus b. This will be ax squared plus ac plus b. And then you can have this as a into bracket x squared plus c plus b. And that is all. Very simple, very straightforward. So there's another question on functional mapping I would love you to attempt before we go to binomial expansion. There's a very interesting question to solve there. So in last year's question, there was a question asked on functional mapping. I would love you to make an attempt on. That was last year. We should be able to solve more than 10 questions today. I don't know who is taking counts. How many are we on? So this was last year. All right. Well, you have to expand. For that person asking question about not expanding, you have to expand. When I look at this question, can you make an attempt to it? And by the way, can you quickly notice the way these things are written? In this particular case, look at the way it was written. Look at the way this is written. So don't get confused. This thing sometimes gets written